So let me introduce you to the speakers today. Today you're listening to myself. I'm the host of today's session. My name is Alfonso Colonino. I'm from CXO Cockpit. I will be hosting today's webinar. Alongside me, I have Sunil Kapoor from Column 5 Consulting. He has 20 years plus experience in consulting and will be the host for the Q&A session with G4S. Additionally, it is with great pleasure I have to introduce Matt Beechenow, who is the financial systems developer here at G4S in the UK.
Great, thank you, Alfonso. So I'm Sunil Kapoor from Column 5, and what I'll be doing is asking Matt a few questions just about a little bit about G4S and his experience with CXO and BPC. So I know time's a bit of a premium now, so without further ado, so tell me, Matt, just a little bit about G4S for those who don't know who you are.
Yeah, hi. G4S, we're a fairly large company. We operate in over 110 countries with over 623,000 employees globally. We have dealings with many businesses, but we have 5 primary service lines. We deal with secure solutions, care and justice services, cash solutions, specialist outsourced services, and security systems and technology. We've been using SAP BPC or Outlook Soft when it was initially released since 2007, and with that, its development of that system has grown. The requirements and the reporting requirements have grown too. We have about 450 users using BPC on a monthly basis, with no common local ledgers or common ERP systems. So it's quite a big reporting system, consolidation system.
Oh, so you're using for consolidation as well as management?
Yes, yeah, we do.
Great. Could you just describe your sort of original reporting processes that you had before?
Yeah, we looked at some kind of reporting solution based on our working day 10 calls. Each of the regions would collaborate to produce a Excel-based pack driven from BPC. Although all the regions would cover the essential information, so such as P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow, there was fragmentation with regards to the level of detail and different aspects they were looking at. They would all get sent to us at Group, the reporting team, and they would use those Excel packs to do working day 10 calls and trading reviews with the regions. So it was a clumsy process, possibly, and not as streamlined as it could be. Hence why we started looking at reporting software.
Okay, great. So what were the sort of financial reporting challenges or difficulties did you actually face?
As I said, one of the main problems was fragmentation between the regions. Along with that, the size of these books that the regions were producing were getting fairly large, in excess of 20, even 30 pages. Wow. So that would also then potentially have a knock-on effect to BPC, as they all run these reports, as well as people reporting as well. They were flat in the sense that there was no dynamic drill down capability within these packs, so it was a case of a sort of a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get approach with the packs. And of course they were at a point in time, although we could update them once we received them, there was always a chance of the fact that there was something hard-coded within there.
Right.
And of course there was version control, not always knowing that we were using the latest version from the regions.
So what would you say was the trigger that caused G4S to review its financial reporting processes? Was there an actual trigger to do that?
I think it was a two-prong issue. The requirements of BPC, what was being asked to be collected was increasing. Definitely more of a granular interest in the data from the executives. Also, because of the amount of data we were pulling in, the reports weren't necessarily showing the data that we were receiving in the best light, just due to the capability of Excel.
Just all visualization.
Yeah, visualization, streamlining, just making it look more presentable.
Oh, great. So, if you don't mind me, so what was the selection process when you were considering a new solution for your financial reporting?
We wanted something that was fast and lightweight, that had drill down functionality. We use multiple big hierarchies for both entities and accounts, as well as some of the other dimensions that we use in BPC. We wanted something that would also really highlight the graphical visualization of the data, allows us to show key information pictorially. We also wanted to produce some suites of reports that we could offer to certain audiences.
Management style dashboards and things for high level.
Something sort of high level, and then also more granular style, or more sort of drill down functionality for people that wanted to go down deeper into the data. And we wanted something fast and low cost deployment, and something that was going to be easy for our global audience.
Were there any sort of other options that you sort of looked and you thought no, they were sort of rejected, or?
Yeah, there was obviously a selection process. I personally wasn't involved in that, but my colleague was, and some of the other solutions were slightly more complex to manage, requiring some specialist programming. Some of them weren't as fast in the sense of deployment or cost effective on the implementation, and one of the other features we wanted was commentary, which some of them didn't offer.
Okay, so so what's your experience with of the engagement process with CXO?
Well, we've been, excuse me, a bit tongue-tied there. It's been a bit of a long process so far, and that's something I'll cover in a little bit. But we've just finished a second parallel run, and the feedback has been really very good from the finance community, who are the ones that deal with it on a sort of daily basis, but also the high-level execs that wouldn't necessarily use BPC to view the data. This has given them a very easy window to see, information without the hassle of installing software or learning specialists.
So it's actually sort of covering quite a wide sort of user community with sort of various different requirements. BPC will give you the sort of granularity and the sort of finance style of reports, but the CXO gives the execs and the visualization.
CXO, we find that CXO covers both, high level and the people that want to know the real true data.
Get down to the real details of the information. So, so having sort of implemented CXO, what has been the business impact, would you say, on the reporting cycle sort of now? I know you've only done sort of 2 parallel runs, but...
I'd say, it's hard to give a definitive answer to that right now, because we're running a second parallel run, but the feedback has been really good. And one of the main bits of feedback that have come back from that is that it needs to be rolled out. We're looking at rolling it out to the businesses. At the moment, it's been a very regional focused rollout, but everybody can see the big benefits to come when we get to the next stage and roll it out to the businesses.
To all the other various businesses that you've got.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because at the moment we've rolled it out to the regional teams, but everybody can start seeing the benefits of the actual company's the actual companies using it and having the roll-up functionality,
Right.
So that it reduces the
Sort of fallout and
and the need for these Excel packs going up and down through the regions.
sure. So are you able to sort of contrast sort of the SAP BPC reporting capabilities in CXO and how they sort of serve different needs? We touched on it a little bit about the Excel add-in sort of allowing sort of finance users to get into the information, and CXO doing the sort of nice visualization, but also allowing the people, users to actually get down to the detail. Again, especially for those users who aren't usually BPC users. So how would you sort of say sort of serve different needs?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having worked BPC daily for 8 years, once you've got that kind of level of skill, you can quite quickly open a spreadsheet and just produce something that will give you the detail that you want. But as you say, for different audiences, there's definitely a different requirement from each of those. And I think especially with sort of high-level execs, time is of the essence, and having something that is lightweight and quick for them to quite easily view key information that they need is good. I mean, say BPC is great, everything comes from BPC, all the data is coming from BPC as a source of information. CXO just allows you to show it in a different light.
I mean, are the execs using it on remote devices, or is it just on?
Yeah, we've initially we're just using the web browser, but a few key people at the moment are using iPads and Android devices as well.
Right, so they can see the information wherever they are, then I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And this day and age of you're never away from a connected device. You can have your data 24/7.
Right. I mean, I know we're a bit tight for time. We've got a few questions that are coming through and things. So, I mean, what would you say are the sort of the key sort of learning points that you can share with the audience who might be considering, benefiting from implementing a new financial reporting solution?
I guess the same rules apply with any project. Basically, is to have a very clear roadmap of what you want the end result to be, and manage potential scope creep along that process. We've succumbed to both of those, and you end up doing without trying to reduce the amount of work you have to redo. We just wanted that we should have made sure that what we wanted was what we wanted, if that makes any sense. We had an idea of what we wanted, but as soon as we start seeing the capabilities of the system, then we've gone back and different iterations and then changing certain things. But I think the biggest thing we have learned is to make it right at source.
Getting the BPC models correct.
So we've changed, structures. We've changed the dimensions. We've changed the way that we've collected certain bits of data. To minimise the amount of work that you need to put into CXO to get that.
Right.
I say we have I think it's about 13 or 14 levels entity structure in BPC. That just didn't work within the CXO for us the way we wanted to show the data. So, we produced a secondary flatter structure. That way, CXO is a lot easier for CXO just to pull the data and give it a nice, clean, simple view.
Right. So I suppose, like you say, the key is to get the source correct.
Yeah, definitely.
Then put CXO on top.
But I mean, you have
that.
Yeah, I mean, timing is not always on your side, with reported closing. So, but there is the functionality within CXO to sort of, a stopgap, a solution until you do correct it at source. But one of the main bits of advice would definitely be
correct the source.
Correct the source, definitely.
Okay. So, I mean, we're sort of coming to the end of sort of questions that we were going to be sort of talking about. I think we've got a few questions that have come through, Alfonso.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sunil. Thanks, Matt, for that Q&A session. And yes, during the webinar, we've actually received a few questions. A few of the audience had submitted a few questions prior, which I've got a couple of those, and a couple of questions have come in whilst Matt has been speaking. So I'm just going to go through a couple of those. We've got about 5-10 minutes left. So here's the first question. I'm going to take this one for Matt. A question from the audience. I'm interested in user adoption. Was this a struggle at G4S, and what were the phases?
I think with anything new, there's definitely a bit of pressure to try and get people to see it. So obviously not showing anybody that's not showing anybody that's not 100% complete and functional was one of our big keys. Was make sure that it's right for the audience we want to show it to. And everybody's busy. The reporting deadlines are tight each month, and it's trying to get some sort of key users within for us and a few key users in the regions to do pilot testing for us. And choosing the right people, the ones that are very vocal, you know, and if it goes great, which obviously it will do, they will also champion it locally, which we found both up and down the hierarchies within their regions. So, you know, from the local FCs, you know, regional CEOs, CFOs are now talking about it. So it does take a little bit of time. Communication is key, as with anything we found.
Yeah.
But
I guess a supplementary question would be: did the users have an alternative way of doing reporting, or did you compel them all to use this new system?
There's a certain amount of compelling. I mean, we run the process from group. Everything comes from us. Not to sound very sort of heavy-handed top down, but they're reporting into us centrally. So it was us telling them we've got this new system, but trying to make it as easy for them, you know, with as little change and pain as possible.
I suppose it's sort of pointing out the benefits to them as a user to say, you know, these are the benefits you're actually going to get from using a new and adopting a new sort of process and system.
And that's been the initial feedback that we've got. You know, this is the same. This is going to save us a lot of time. You know, and especially when we roll it out in that next phase down to our businesses. We've had to do it 2 stages just because of the amount of people that we're trying to get all in at once. So yeah, I mean, time savings, obviously, if anyone can save time, then it's going to be great for them.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. I hope that's answered the question for the member in the audience. Let's take another question that's come through. This one is: what takes your time on the time issue, getting it right in BPC and therefore transferring it from BPC into CXO? Can you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, as I said in one of the earlier questions, the focus should be keeping it correct at source. Sometimes, depending upon the system that you're using, and also you know how complex it is, it could be, you know, a 5-minute job, it could be a week's work, but keeping it at source is key. And if doing that will help you reduce the amount of maintenance you may have to do within CXO to keep things updated.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Matt, for answering that question. Let's move on to the next one. How do you find the security arrangements and role creation within CXO?
Again, I can only speak from how we use it. Because it's gone out to a regional audience, we set the security up just to be separated by regions. So at the moment we've only really got admin, which is myself, which obviously got ultimate functionality. I work with the FP&A team who have the same visibility as me, but not the admin capabilities. and then each user will only be able to see up to their security that I've matched to BPC.
Right.
So we've used BPC as the roadmap for security, and we've duplicated that within CXO. And I say it shouldn't get any more complicated when we go down to a country level. It's just going to be more roles, you know.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next question that's come from the audience. What is your experience with the flexibility and standard reporting suite within CXO compared with the reports from SAP BPC?
I say with SAP BPC, it's Excel. It's whatever you can do within Excel, you can do within BPC. So functional conditioning, and the formatting, and the additional features within BPC, advanced formatting. Within CXO, it's not as tablature almost. I mean, you can make Excel look.
It's as good as your Excel skills.
Yes, exactly. It is, and you know, that's great, and it's done us for so many years. Out of the box for CXO, it just looks different, but it's familiar at the same instance.
Yeah.
You know, again, it depends on how you create your reports and how you want to report, or how it's expected to be reported by management.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Let's move on. There's a couple of other questions that have come through. You've probably addressed this already, but maybe it's just a slight twist on what you've addressed so far. Do you have a standard assessment method as to whether reporting development should be implemented in the source system or whether it should be done in CXO?
Yeah, as you say, it's kind of been covered before, but we have found that based on CXO, we want to show something in a certain way, has actually made us go back and change it in and produce it in BPC.
Yeah.
So from that, it's given us a different view of maybe what we want or what execs want, and so yeah, something we may not necessarily have thought of if we just carried on using BPC. So
okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another question. Could you maybe share with us, if there were any, difficulties experienced with the initial implementation and rollout?
So we're kind of still rolling it out at the moment. We've had the regional adoption. It goes back to my last point of having a clear roadmap. We've just experienced that we maybe have neglected a functionality we wanted. And we're sort of 9 months in now, and it's just taken a week's worth of work to rectify that.
Which isn't too bad in the scale.
Which is not. It's not. But I mean, as I said, you know, having that clear roadmap, we may have avoided that week's work, which I could have used elsewhere. Yeah, there's always something to be done.
Okay, no problem. Let me just look at see if there are any other questions coming through. There's a couple of others coming through on the chat box now. Let me just scroll through that one. Just bear with me 1 second.
I mean, what we can do, if they're very product specific, we can actually...
yeah, some of them are, Sunil, correct, yeah. So...
yeah, so this one, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so how much have you designed yourself, or how much have you allowed external consultants to do the development for you as part of the CXO reporting solution?
I think initially, with any new system, both for a development purpose as well as the audience, we were very reliant on CXO and the consultant that we worked with closely. But she listened very, very well, and we had a pack, sort of a template pack in Excel. Said, look, this is kind of this is what we want it to look like. Let's work with you and help us develop this in CXO. Obviously, not knowing the functionality of the system in depth at that point. But yeah, I think from that point, once you get the skills, and then once you start having it out in the live environment and people using it, you can then produce specific, more sort of audience-specific reports that may be needed.
That probably leads nicely into training. So did you do that as part of the implementation, or was there a rollout afterwards? Could you share maybe your experience in that area?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of work has been done sort of at group behind closed doors to get it ready to a certain point. And then once we did that, we actually did an initial training session in September when we were planning on using CXO for a budget process. So I produced a working document from, say, taking the skills I learned from training for BPC, made it very step by step, because we also have a lot of different languages across all the world, and different different understandings of technology and that. So, and we just used online tools. I think we used one of the report meeting tools just to go through a document and show live examples. But again, because it's a very simple system, it's a link, and we're using the same Active Directory as we do for BPC, so there's no additional login requirements or details. Sorry, they use the same ones. But yeah, it's very quick, very intuitive.
Okay, super. We've got time for one more question, Matt. So let's just have a look at this last question. Has G4S reduced the number of reports that they use now compared with the number of reports they were using previously?
Yes, I say we're still in the parallel run at the moment, but we have produced a suite of 11 reports, and that is now been used for 2 consecutive months to do working day 10 trading calls. The like-for-like packs that we got, if you were to total them all up, I mean, you'd have 8 different packs, and within those you could have 20 to 30 different sheets within each one. Some of that data is still pertinent, and we use the attachment functionality in CXO to attach any additional documents or supporting information that either can't be shown in CXO, or they want to give additional information based upon what's in being shown in CXO in the call.
Okay, so that takes us to the end of our session today. So today's webcast was part of the CXO Cockpit's Expert Masterclass series. Thank you to the audience for joining us today. We hope that you've learned something new, and that we've left you with new ideas on how to improve your financial reporting process for the organization that you work for. The contact details and next steps are now live on the screen. I'd like to thank Sunil for hosting the session today, and a big thank you to Matt Beechano from G4S for answering our questions today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And goodbye.
Thank you.